Now that I got the head torqued back to spec, both heads that is, I'm gonna go ahead and replace this knock sensor right here. This knock sensor sits right here below the lower intake. Unfortunately, I broke the other one when I was removing some stuff. Just bumped it and there it was. Broke it. So it's probably a good idea to go ahead and replace it anyway if you didn't break it, because since it is down inside below the intake, if you're doing a head gasket job, go ahead and replace this, because this plastic around here can get brittle just like anything else. So, knock sensor. Alright folks, now that we got our knock sensor installed, we're about to install our water passage. So as you see, I got all the surfaces cleaned up, mounting surfaces. I got my gasket on here, and my O-ring here. I put just a little bit of lube on it there so it would slide in a lot easier. And when I get that thing on there, I'm going to torque all the bolts to 16 foot-pounds. Mind that I said bolts. Now there are some bolts and there are some nuts, but they will all be torqued to 16 foot-pounds. Now, once you got your heads bolted down, your water column bolted down, and torqued to spec, you can now install your injector bases. This is what most people would call a lower manifold, or what Honda and Acura, they call it an injector base, because your injectors go here. Now once you got the injector bases mounted, torque the bolts and nuts to 16 foot-pounds. Alright, next I'll be showing you how to set the proper cam timing on this vehicle. There are 3 marks on this motor that you need to worry about. First, on the front cam, you'll have a mark up top. I marked it here with a Sharpie, and then I marked the line here with a Sharpie. On the rear cam, a little different to get to, but I also marked it with a Sharpie. Not sure if you can see that there. As you can see, there is a line here. Not sure if you can see it in the video, but right here on the cam gear and at the top of the cam gear. Right here, there's a line there to line up. Coming down from the side on the crank gear, there is one right here on the crank gear for the timing belt, As you can see, I got it marked with a Sharpie. And then there's one right here. As you can see, that little arrow right there. But line this arrow up with this arrow to get your number 1 cylinder at top dead center. That way everything is in time. Alright, as you can see down here below the auto tensioner where the idler pulley is, there is a auto tensioner cylinder, I guess you could call it, the hydraulic tensioner. And this little ring clip here is not made to be pulled out until you get your timing belt on and set and in time. If you do happen to pull this out before you get it in time, you will have to take this auto tensioner setup back off and compress it, and then put the key back in it before installing again. Alright, I'll first start by placing the bottom of the timing belt on the crankshaft gear. Then I'll work my way around up top. Alright, now that I got the timing belt installed and the marks lined up, I'm going to rotate the motor 2 times to make sure the marks will line back up. Now I'm putting a 19mm on the crank bolt, and I'm going to turn the motor twice by hand and see if the timing marks line back up. Alright, now that we got our timing set, you may be wondering what I'm doing with a battery strap bolt. Alright, as you can see, I still have the pin in the auto tensioner that I need to pull out. If you look right up here, there is a threaded hole where I'm going to screw this battery strap bolt in to compress this tensioner, so I'll be able to pull this pin out right here. Now I'm going to start from the back side of the engine and start running this battery bolt in to compress the auto tensioner cylinder. As you can see, I got the battery bolt, I call it, for the fastener tightened down, pushing on the auto tensioner. So now I got the pressure off of the pin, and I can pull the pin. Now that I got the pin out, I can back the bolt back out.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Yeah.
Alright, now that I got the tensioner tight, the belt is tight, now I'm going to rotate the motor 6 times to make sure the timing marks are still lined up.
Yeah. Yeah.
see, our front cam is lined up on the mark. Our rear cam is lined up on the mark. And also, our crank gear cam is lined up on the mark. So now our timing is properly adjusted and we can start putting the covers back on.